SantaCruzSentinel.com.
Hello and welcome to the Reporter's Notebook, the podcast from and about the Santa Cruz Sentinel. I'm your host, Anthony El Solis. If you'd like to join in the conversation or have a topic you'd like me to talk about here at the Reporter's Notebook, give me a call, leave me a voicemail, 831-706-3205. You can always email me at tsolis@santacruzsentinel.com. But today we're going to be talking about what you probably already see actually on your computer or your mobile phone. And that's the new look of SantaCruzSentinel.com. So here to talk to me about that is our editor, Kara Myberg Guzman. Kara, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, yes, the Sentinel website looks different. And I'm not one to mince words. I will tell you honestly if I did or did not like it. And I got to say I like it a little bit better. What do you think?
Yeah, way, way better.
So why did we do this?
This has been something we've been working on, or towards for many months now. I'd say over a year.
Yeah, I'd say it's been a long time. And I'm trying to remember back how far, but, if anybody knows when the San Jose Mercury News, the Mercury News now, right. Went to WordPress, that we've been talking about it since way before then. They just happened to switch before us.
I think it's part of our company's overall mission to, improve our digital experience for readers.
We are called Digital First, after all.
That's right. It's part of a push, to try to reach more readers through our website and our app. And our, online multimedia such as this. And the new structure of our website reflects that. You'll find that it's just a lot cleaner look, a lot easier reading experience. You can navigate. The navigation is more intuitive. The website is, for example, broken up into our beats and into neighborhoods. So if there's a particular topic that you're interested in, or, a particular city, you can drill down from our menu and find it quicker. Also, the way that, the stories appear, they're more embedded with the photos and the videos and the tweets, it's just a lot easier to read than a whole block of text, on a white background.
So you heard me mention earlier that this, when the Mercury News switched to WordPress, and so yes, this is a WordPress website that we have now. Our content management system is now based on WordPress. And one thing about WordPress is that it's very visual, or it can be very visual, as visual as you want it. And so what readers might notice is, you mentioned the photos. There are not just more options for photos, but we can drop photos wherever we want in the story, and that we're not stuck with those two photo spots, I think, on this current, now the previous website. To give you another behind the scenes look, people, we are actually recording this about a week ahead of time. So we're not live yet. We want this podcast to be ready to go when we're live. So we're having to do some of this from memory, and the fact that I've been kind of tinkering around with the website for a while. For reporters and getting information out to the readers, because that's basically the most important thing and what we're all, here to do. What can readers expect differently from just looking at a story? Is it going to be basically the same experience, just with, lipstick on a pig, or are we going to do things maybe a little bit different?
Yeah, good question. For example, I think you'd see reporting that is more tied to multimedia. For example, like recently there was a city council meeting where there was a outburst, and our reporter was there. They cleared the chambers. The speaker actually ended up getting escorted off the grounds in handcuffs. We were there, and we got the video of all of this happening, the drama. Instead of having that video be an afterthought, like a tiny little highlighted link on the side of a
like linking
story
to the YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly. We can, display that prominently within the story, like, and in an appropriate spot when the text, when we start referring to it in the story, we can actually plop it right there on the website. And same thing goes for sports. For example, like our Jim Seamus, our sports one of the sports editors, always on Fridays and Saturdays posts these great sideline videos. Instead of those being an afterthought, he can include that in a better way with the actual presentation on the website.
Yeah, I mean, the previous system that we had, you could do that kind of stuff, but you couldn't put videos in the middle of text. For example, you couldn't be talking about something and then kind of like, intro the video and then there's the video. And part of that is, I mean, we could do it, but it was actually very complicated. And I think you and I were the only two people that had the ability to do that, the proper
right.
logins. And I might have been the only one who actually knew how to do it.
Right.
So, it could change the way, I guess, some of the reporting is done, but it's also going to maybe make the reporter start to think visually, trying to pull tweets in. We can embed tweets and Facebook posts and that type of thing. So, maybe there's going to be a little switch. And it might take a little bit of time because we are still very print based in our thinking. I am, for sure. I mean, even though I'm pretty gung ho with the whole multimedia and the new website and everything, it's hard to get out of that print habit. And we're not abandoning print by any stretch of the imagination. There's no conspiracy to I'm trying to head off the letter writers and the commenters right now that are going to say this. If there's a conspiracy to get rid of print, there's nothing I know about it at all. But the print is still there. It's just that without getting into too many boring details for the readers, when we write a story, instead of writing it for print and then posting it to the web, we're now going to be writing it for the web and then what we would call exporting it to print, which in a way makes more sense because the web is more immediate. So it makes sense to what you'd want to put that up right away. We had something happen last week where we were short-staffed because I took a day off. I was lazy and stayed home. And some opinion stuff didn't get webbed. And there were definitely some commenters that are like, oh, that's because there were too many Kavanaugh cartoons or columns. And like, no, it's just, it slipped through the cracks. And it's harder for that type of thing in this new system to slip through the cracks. But that's not to say that everything on the website would be like completely hunky-dory. Like I said, I'm not going to be rah-rah, everything's super perfect. I will say that because of the way we organized our website, let me rephrase that. Because of the way we were forced to organize our website against our will when we switched to the last content management system and website design, it means that when we moved all the stories to the new website, they might be in some funny places. You might find some opinion stories or sports stories labeled as local news. It's just the way things get tagged and keyworded and things like that. They're going to wind up in different spots. And we've got 600,000 plus stories over the last 10 to 12, 13 years of our website archived right now. And they've all migrated over to WordPress. And I'm seeing that they're all in kind of funky areas, or like the ones that are 10 years old, they look a little silly, but they also look a little silly now because that was about 3 or 4 websites ago. So the things aren't perfect, and we're going to have some growing pains, and I want everybody to be aware of that. And there's no conspiracy theory when you see that, if we kind of mess up a little bit, just we'll fix it. But, give us a little bit of a break for like a day, and then you can get mad at us again.
Yeah, I think the first day there's going to be some stories miscategorized, but hopefully, within the next week, everything will be humming as it should be.
Yes, I would hope so. One of the things that we will be able to do is change the look of the homepage, either temporarily or permanently. We have about 3 templates we can choose from. And to be honest, only 2 of them are actually viable. One of them is sort of useless because there's a big giant block of white space in the middle, and it drives me crazy. So I don't think I would ever use that. But if we have a very big story, wildfires or some big disaster or flooding or whatever, where you want one story to just drive the traffic, that's the main story, and everything else is kind of fingered off of that particular story. We can change the look of the website at will, and not have to jump through any hoops or go to help tickets and things like that to do it. But that's a better experience, I think, for the reader, and it can kind of let the reader know that, hey, this is a big deal when this website it's changed. So you and I and any of the other editors, we have the ability to do that now. It's pretty nice, and like you mentioned, easier for YouTube videos and tweets and all of that into stories, and also easier for this podcast to get embedded into a story. I always had to jump through a number of hoops just to get this podcast onto the website. Go through 3 different content management systems just to get it there. Now it's going to be pretty easy. So hopefully we can do more of these podcasts, but there's another elephant in the room that I kind of want to bring up. You might notice, listeners here might notice that there hasn't been a podcast for a while. I think maybe early June. Part of that's my fault. I was on leave for a little while. Part of that is a technical issue. We'd recorded a podcast and then found out that our recording mechanism broke, and only like part of it it would skip every couple of words. So that was a big bummer. But the main thing right now is that we have an early deadline, and this happened actually while I was on leave. So our deadlines are in the early evening now for print, which means at the time that we record this podcast, which was usually in the late afternoon, you're pretty busy. And any of the reporters that I might need to pull in here to talk are going to be on deadline, and that's going to make doing this podcast hard. But you would very much like me to keep doing this?
Yes.
Despite all of that. But I wanted to be completely transparent about that I'm not trying to get out of doing the podcast because this is probably the highlight of my week. But it's a little bit more difficult to pull people in here at the Sentinel because they're working. They're busy. There's little free time here.
Right. And if you want more details, I wrote a column about it. I think it was July 1st that it was published. Explaining the earlier deadline and why we did it, and more details there. It's
because we're trying to get rid of print, right? We're trying to eliminate the print product, I believe, right? I think is what I heard online. Just kidding. So I think is there anything you want to ask me about the website? Because I've been on our development site for about 3 or 4 months now.
I feel like I should be the one interviewing you because you're the web expert. I'm curious, with your design background, your aesthetic eye, what is it that sticks out to you about our new website versus the old one?
Well, there's some things that I like, and there's some things that I don't like about it. I'll start with what I don't like first, actually, and that's the standard layout of our homepage has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 or 5 stories.
You're talking about the old website.
No. The WordPress,
new website.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The WordPress website. This is the thing that's kind of bothersome to me, but not that big of a deal. It's just a design person. There's about 5 stories that have roughly equal weight, visual weight. There's one story that's up on top that you can kind of tell that's the lead story, but then there's like 4 below that are just a little too equal, and there's not a lot of it'd be nice if they had little what we might call kickers, or something that said like this is sports or this is features on those. I kind of wish those were there just as another navigational tool, and I worry that not enough people will scroll down the page to see that there are like all these other things down toward the bottom of the page. We'll have slideshows and local news and crime news and sports and opinion and all this stuff down there. I'm just worried that not enough people will scroll down. That's the thing that bothers me. The thing that I like is that it's so clean, and it's not. It doesn't hurt my eyes to look at it. I'm just going to say it. The last website that we had, the website we had up until today, I hated. I thought it sucked. I thought the one we had before was better. And I was really upset that when we switched to this one, we'd had very little control over it, no control over the layout, the design. We couldn't make new sections. We couldn't make new. Our menu bar was pretty much locked. We had no control over what was up there. It was really difficult to customize it to us. It had to look the same as every other property in DFM, and the WordPress does too. I mean, we look like the Chico paper, we look like the Marin paper. We're going to look the same, but we have more ability to customize. Our local news page is going to be customized, like you said, by beats. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have a neighborhoods area that is customized by location. Granted, we still, as editors and reporters, have to tag or keyword all of these things properly for it to work. So there's the human element there. But I think that's going to be much easier to do than it is in our the previous system that we're just leaving, which was it just wasn't good. I didn't like it. So this is a step up in that sense. What else you want to know? I got all the answers. I'm going to be honest.
I mean, you bring up an interesting point, like being worried about like whether people will scroll down.
Yes.
I think that that's on us to make sure that we, create interesting content that people are willing to scroll down for. I mean, you think about your own mobile use, and when you're on Facebook or Instagram, me at least, I feel like I'm scrolling forever. I look up and and hours pass by. I mean, I think that's because, the content is interesting and engaging. And I feel like if we can, strategically place stories that will get people to scroll down, make sure that we've got interesting stories in a row, and then find ways to get people, get our reporters and get our freelance staff and find the right sister papers, curate the right stories that'll get people.
Here's the thing that's going to be really nice is that if we find out that something's not working, say, for example, I've got business as a category, as a section way down on our homepage, and we find out just people aren't going down there, or maybe they stop at business and they don't go down to opinion or lifestyles or anything that might be underneath that, or just doesn't play well, we can get rid of it. It takes me about 5 seconds, or I can move it down and move something else up, or say there's a big story and maybe it's Santa Cruz Warriors season, and we want to have all those stories out on the front of our main homepage just for the season. We can do it. We don't have to submit a help ticket and go through 3 people and trying to describe what we want to do and why we want to do it. We can just do it ourselves. Yeah. And if something doesn't work, we'll just change it and find something that does work.
Yeah.
And that's going to be fantastic. And when you mentioned the mobile site, and I can't remember if we mentioned it in this podcast, but I know that we've talked about it before. The mobile site looks better because holy cow, I'm not, no pulling punches here. Our mobile site was awful. You couldn't find anything in our mobile site, and I couldn't find anything. And I was partly in charge of the web stuff for a long time. And I couldn't find anything on the website, and people would complain to me, and I'd have to, well, yeah, I know it's bad. There's nothing I can do about it. I kind of have to bite my tongue, but still be honest. I can now clearly say it was awful, and this is a vast, vast, vast improvement. And I think we'll get more people looking at stories and our website on their phones now, or their iPads, or whatever. It's going to be a little bit more, or a little bit easier to view it on mobile. And the videos and all that stuff will work, because previously with the old mobile site, if we did put a video in, if we figured out how to do it and jumped through all the hoops, there'd always be this little note underneath that said, viewing on a mobile, click here, because it wouldn't work on your mobile device. And I could never figure out why that was the case. So the mobile experience is by far improved and better. And that alone is worth it. Now, we got to make sure that we, like we said, we got to tag everything right. And we've got all these great neighborhoods that people can start going to, which, by the way, they're going to be empty at first because we didn't tag anything before. I mean, we did a little bit. We had a place on the old website called Places, but nobody ever properly labeled that because it was kind of cumbersome to go and do. So they're not going to be populated much, but they will starting now. And it's definitely easier to do. So we'll just have to make sure that we stay on it, especially as editors. When you see a story from a reporter come through and they didn't tag it, you just press a button and that's it. It's that easy. You don't have to go, like I said, jump through a million hoops just to get that. So, you'd even be able to subscribe. Say you live in Live Oak. We had the big Live Oak podcast earlier. Where is Live Oak? Well, if you're roughly in the general Live Oak-ish area, and you just want the Live Oak news, you want to subscribe to it on a RSS reader, that type of thing, it's really easy to do. You basically just go to the Live Oak page, and if you know how to, and I'm not going to get into the details of how to do this, you guys can hopefully figure it out. Maybe I'll do a different podcast on that. Yeah, Google it, how to use an RSS reader. But if you want the feed for any section, or as we're going to be calling them now, tags, all you have to do is at the very end of the URL address, put /feed, and that's your RSS feed. So if you just want your Live Oak stuff, /feed, there's your answer right there. And as long as we tag things properly, you'll get your Live Oak stuff.
Cool.
So same thing with Santa Cruz Warriors, all that stuff. It's going to be... Well, look, we're not, we're not breaking new ground here or anything. We're just, making it look nice and making it easier to read. And the more people read the news, the better, right?
Right.
That's what we're all here for anyway.
And if you have feedback for us, as you're using our website, and you come across any issues or, ideas for how we could improve it, please let us know. I think the good news is that we have a lot more control over it now. And I think we can, adapt to what our readers want easier.
Yeah. Listen, Kara, I probably got to get back to work, and I'm sure you have to get back to work, but I'm very excited for this change. Mainly because it's been, for me anyway, since I've been using it since May-ish, I just want to get it over with. Yeah. Let's just do this already and change. So I'm excited to be doing this, and I want to know the feedback as well, good or bad. But hey, if you really hate the design or whatever, we didn't do it. We're just following orders, But if it's great, we'll take full credit. I have no problem with that whatsoever. So, Kara, listen, thanks for joining me, and I know you got to get back to work. And everybody, thank you for listening. You can subscribe on Spreaker and iTunes and the Google Podcasts, and I believe Spotify, and anywhere that you can get your podcast, you can listen to the Reporter's Notebook. Thank you for joining me.